Hi everybody, Simon Sharwood here, Asia Pacific editor for the Register and also our virtualization writer. And today I want to talk about something deeply unfashionable, which is hardware. For the last few years I hardly ever hear the word hardware discussed unless it's got the word commodity in front of it. But I think that there are some things that are about to start happening in the wacky world of hardware that we're all going to need to pay a bit of attention to. And those two things are, quite simply, 3D cross-point and the whole wave of cheapish, for now, non-volatile memory that we're going to get, and then silicon photonics. So let's have a quick explanation of both of them in case you're not across them. 3D cross-point, Intel uses the brand Optane to label this, is a non-volatile memory medium that's storage class memory. It's somewhere between 500 and 1,000 times faster than NAND flash. But it's going to go on DIMMs. It's going to look like RAM to your machine. And there's actually a bit of a debate going on at the moment about whether this is a new really fast storage tier or a new slightly slower RAM tier. But whatever happens with Optane and with non-volatile memory like this, we're going to end up with a lot of really fast media inside servers. And because you can put this stuff on DIMMs, it's going to be really dense. So I'm talking to people who are saying that, you know, they see 2, 3, maybe 5 years down the track, you could be looking at a 2U box with a couple of petabytes of storage inside. And then let's think about the density that Intel and AMD and others are starting to bring to CPU cores. You know, before long, if you've got 2U, you could be looking at 8 dual socket servers, so 16 Xeons times 16 cores apiece, 256 fast, grunty Xeon cores in 2U, plus 2 petabytes of storage. Wow, I mean, we're starting to look at some serious grunt there. And the good news is we've already got a tiny look at how this is going to look, because just last week, exclusively covered on the Register, or at least we were the first to notice, IBM announced that it's going to use some Optane in its Bluemix cloud in servers provided by Lenovo. Now I'm looking at the Reg story here, and what we've been told is that we're going to get VMs with guaranteed service levels, very high IOPS. What have we got here? I had this before. We're going to assume that we get 11.2 gigabytes per second of sequential read bandwidth out of these servers in the cloud. We're going to get random read-write IOPS at up to 450,000/175,000 and sequential read-write bandwidth of up to 2.8 gig and 2 gig. And latency down at 20 milliseconds for writes. Long story short, hardware is about to change. It's about to get seriously fast and seriously dense. So let's first think about fast. Well, fast is always good until you hit the network. Now, we've pretty much coped with flash because we had, we've had 40 gig Ethernet, we've had 100 gig Ethernet pretty much available. We've had fibre channel around if you really need that kind of speed. We're about to get devices that are capable of sending a serious quantity of data out onto the network. And we're also going to start to see devices that actually kind of aren't servers as we understand them. One of the other things that's coming down the pike is what's being called composable infrastructure. And composable infrastructure says don't build a discrete server. It says build a chassis that's got some CPU, some GPU, and maybe it's got a shelf full of disk and a shelf full of flash and a shelf full of non-volatile memory, and then compose a virtual server by grabbing resources from up and down the rack in order to build your server. So we've got all of these changes coming. They're going to push a heck of a lot of data out onto the network. Things are about to get interesting for north-south traffic, never mind east-west. So I think there are a couple of things that fall out of this. One is that for years we've been told that the age of the specialist IT person is gone and that you really have to become a generalist now. Well, for me, once you get to some of the bandwidth and the write speeds that we've been talking about previously here, gee, the network guy is going to start to be important. A second thing is that we're all going to have to get used to silicon photonics, which is when information starts coming off the motherboard as light instead of as electrical impulses. There's going to be a whole bunch of new stuff to get used to there. But I think the main thing we're really going to have to get used to is that once we get this very, very dense computation and storage available, very, very small packages, it's going to lower the barrier to entry for all sorts of analytics applications. Today, a lot of businesses rely on their apps and they've got reasonably crude metrics about them. Before long, there's not going to be much excuse for not giving yourself a whole bunch of instrumentation. So you can learn an incredible amount of data about how your consumers are interacting with you, how your applications are behaving. I really feel like everything we've seen in the last couple of years with all the enthusiasm for big data is just going to multiply and multiply. And the third thing that I think we're going to see as these technologies come on stream is ask yourself, who over the last few years has been pioneering a computing experience where everything's encapsulated inside the one box or inside the one appliance? And of course the answer to that is pretty simple. It's the hyper-converged players. It's the guys who've got tight coupling between their compute and their storage, their virtual storage usually. I think those guys are going to have a field day once this stuff comes along, because if they haven't seen it coming, and I can't imagine they haven't, that would be extraordinary, but they probably have seen it coming. And so I think we're in a situation where the converged and hyper-converged hardware providers are hopefully going to have a lash at really being able to deliver this stuff packaged up beautifully in appliances so we can put it all to work. One last thing. The big clouds are all built on commodity hardware. I mean, it really is vanilla x86 and it's got this much RAM or it doesn't, it's got a GPU or it doesn't. Virtual machines in the cloud, hardware in the cloud is commodity, to use that word again. I just wonder if, at this juncture when we've got these big new hardware innovations coming, the cloud operators don't say to themselves, what kind of machine could we build to take advantage of these new technologies and to give users a really, really good reason not just to come to our cloud, but to commit to our cloud because we offer them some kind of performance advantage. So, that I think is the end of my rant for today. As usual, I must apologise for not having slides. Making the register keeps us very, very busy. But I do think that, let's start rethinking hardware and what it's going to offer us, because I think in the next couple of years it's all going to explode. That's me, Simon Sharwood, the Register.